Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Monday morning and it is cloudy and it's just started raining, so there's that. So if you watch this channel just for Summer Wells content, then come back tomorrow, because this video is not about Summer Wells. I'd like you to stay, I'd like you to watch all my non-Summer Wells content, but realistically I know that a great deal of people who are here on this channel are only here for Summer Wells. That's okay, makes me feel a little bit sad, but that's okay. So today I want to talk about the disappearance of 3-year-old Dylan Ehler. He disappeared on May the 6th, 2020 from his grandmother's home in Truro, Nova Scotia, Canada. So in case you haven't heard about this case before, I'll give you an approximate timeline, what we know. I'm going to talk about the two main theories, which are that Dylan drowned or that he was abducted. And I'm going to give you my opinion alongside all of that. And I'd like to know what your opinion is of this case down below. Now, I've based the information on 3 sources. W5, which was a documentary about Dylan, a Nancy Grace podcast, which featured a number of panelists and Dylan's parents, and then an interview Dylan's dad, Jason, did with Josh from the lab. So I'll leave a link to all of those sources in the description box. Okay, so a few days before May the 6th, Jason and Dylan's mother, Ashley, had got into an argument, got into a fight. The police were called, they were arrested, and that has come up numerous times in this situation and how this situation unfolded. Personally, I don't think it's relevant to Dylan's disappearance, but it has generated a number of theories that maybe don't have any evidence to back them up, about the mother being involved, the dad being involved, or the grandmother being involved. We'll get into grandma in a second. Also, some TikTok videos that Ashley had made came under scrutiny certainly by sleuths on the internet, saying that they were inappropriate. Yeah, well, they were ill-timed. Jokes, but ill-timed. Anyway, I thought I'd get that out of the way before we get into the serious stuff, because I'm expecting that that could be brought up in the comments. May the 6th, Dylan's mum, Ashley, had taken Dylan to his grandma's house, so her mother, Dorothy Parsons. She went out for a coffee with a friend. She wanted a break, and Dylan used to stay at his grandmother's house. Nothing unusual about him being taken there at all. And Ashley states that it was around 11ish when she dropped him off, around that time. About 12ish, Dorothy's husband, Jeff, arrived home from work for his lunch, so around 12. And he stayed about 50 minutes and left around 12:50 to go back to work. Jeff states that Dylan was alive and well, nothing untoward whatsoever, at 12:50. Then around 1:15-ish, and this is just an approximate timeline, and there is some dispute about the exact timings of these things, so I'm just giving approximates. About 1:15, neighbours heard Dorothy shouting for Dylan. At 1:24, the 911 call came in to Truro Police Department that Dylan was missing. So the police arrived shortly thereafter. Very, very quick response time. However, the thing that Dylan's dad Jason and his mother Ashley cannot get over is the fact that it took 3 hours or thereabouts, according to them, for search and rescue to get boots on the ground. So although police were there very quickly, and they'd done some, perhaps a little bit of neighbourhood canvassing, and again, even that is disputed about how much neighbourhood canvassing they actually did. But for search and rescue to actually get boots on the ground, according to the parents, it took 3 hours. According to search and rescue and the police, Yes, it did take them a while, but according to them, they had a canine, a search dog, on the ground much sooner than that. The problem with that search dog, according to Jason, is that the handler had said that this dog was not equipped to deal with search for missing children. So I'm not sure what type of dog this was. Surely they're not got a cadaver dog out so soon. What was that dog actually doing? Anyway, that's just according to the parents. So close to Dylan's grandmother's house, there is a brook. It's called Leper Brook. And that brook, shortly after Elizabeth Street, where Dylan's grandmother lives, it feeds into the Salmon River, which is very fast flowing. And that ultimately feeds into the Bay of Fundy and then out into the Atlantic Ocean. And on this day, May the 6th, the brook and the river were raging. The brook was much higher than it normally is because it had a lot of rainfall in the days preceding. So the drowning theory was the one that the police quickly went with. According to the parents, that's the theory that they've stuck with, and they haven't considered other options, such as the fact Dylan could have been abducted. On the Nancy Grace podcast, Nancy made some good points, that a child can just be snatched up in seconds. So really every avenue should have been kept open. But honestly, I can understand why the police went with the drowning theory, at least initially. The parents and the grandmother don't agree. They think it's possibly been abducted. The grandmother certainly thinks Dylan could have been abducted. So who is the grandmother? Grandmother's Dorothy. And as I said, she was looking after Dylan that morning into the afternoon while Ashley went for a coffee with a friend. And she took Dylan outside, so this would have been maybe around 1:15 or just before. And with her, she had her dog, which was a 5 to 6 month old puppy. This is her story. She turned round from Dylan. Police later timed this action at 18 seconds. So a lot of people talk about 18 seconds. This is where that came from. It came from Dorothy doing a police demo, showing her how long it took her to turn around from Dylan to the dog and put the dog on a leash. Why was the dog on a leash in the garden? Well, because the garden was only partially enclosed. So there was an opening out to the front onto Elizabeth Street, and Dorothy's house was on the corner of Elizabeth Street and Queen Street, which is the main road. So if Dylan went that way, then it very quickly could have got onto the main road and possibly abducted. But there was also a way out through some bushes, through a neighbour's garden, and then out to Leper Brook. I've looked at this on Google Maps and Google Earth, and on those platforms, it looks very overgrown. It looks like there's no way a 3-year-old would run through those bushes, traverse his way to the brook to be able to even fall in and drown. However, when you look at a map that Jason put on his Facebook, which is presumably drone footage taken in winters, you can see through the trees, now the foliage is gone, that there's a path from Dorothy's house to the brook. And I've measured that, and just measuring it from Dorothy's yard to the brook is only around less than 250 feet. And walking at a normal pace, it would take less than a minute to get there. Now, it is known that Dylan was a runner, that he was an eloper. So much so that Dylan's mother had told Dorothy that if she took him outside to put him on a harness, and she provided a harness for him. Jason has said that there's no way Dylan would run through a gap in the bushes and run to the brook, because unlike what the police have said that he was fixated with water, that he liked water, And because the brook was raging that day, he might have been drawn to the sound of the water. Jason says that's not true. And in his opinion, he didn't hear it raging and doesn't think that Dylan would have done what the police think he did. But I think it is a possibility. And 3-year-olds, little children, do the strangest of things. They really do. They do the thing that you'd least expect. It is very possible that Dylan did get out through those bushes, go to the brook, unfortunately fall in and be swept away. This theory was supported by that evening. Searchers found Dylan's boots. These were the boots he was wearing. These are the exact boots he was wearing. And they were a size too big. Dorothy had bought these for Dylan, either for his birthday or for Easter, because the 2 dates were very close together. They were a size too big, but they thought, well, he might as well wear them because he'll grow into them. You know how quickly 3-year-olds grow. So they didn't take them back and get the size less. They kept them, which is another issue that Jason's talked about, that how did he manage to run away with boots on that were too big? Anyway, Dylan's boots were found in the brook. One of them was found not too far west of where Dylan could possibly have got into the brook, in my opinion. And then the other one was a little bit further down. Now on Dylan's dad's picture, it's almost off the picture, but it's very close to where Leper Brook goes into the Salmon River. Unfortunately, if Dylan had fallen in and drowned, and once his boots filled with water, and because they were a little bit big, they came off, that shows the path that unfortunately, sadly, Dylan's body would have taken out into the Salmon River, which was raging, fast flowing, ultimately then out into the Bay of Fundy. And this brook has been searched extensively. The Salmon River has been searched, but how can you possibly search an entire river? You know, Dylan's dad goes out every weekend, still goes out every weekend, searching for answers, searching for Dylan. And he says he only ever feels at peace when he's searching. But then he hates it, because one day they might find him. And while he's missing, although it's a horrible, just the worst feeling to be in for 2 years, there's always that slight hope that Dylan is alive somewhere. So there's been lots of problems with Dylan's dad and the police. He's had campaigns, he's had marches against Truro police, and so much so that he's not even allowed now to talk to the lead investigator because he's so angry about what he feels is police mistreatment of the case. He feels that vital clues could have been missed in those vital few hours. He's probably right, you know. You know, if that theory of him drowning was the only one that they contemplated, it took them so long to get search and rescue on the ground. Now, one of the search and rescue guys says, in his opinion, even though, yes, it did take a while for search and rescue to get there, it wouldn't have made a difference to the outcome. I guess I understand where he's going with that, because if Dylan had run to the brook and fallen in and was gone, then even by the time the police arrived, he was gone. Now, they've done tests with a mannequin that was the same weight and approximate size of Dylan. And that mannequin always gets snagged on bushes, on debris in the brook. And even though there's been several trials of this, it always gets snagged and it never makes it out to the Salmon River. So according to Dylan's parents, how would Dylan, if he drowned and fallen in, how would he have even got out to the Salmon River to be washed out into the sea? I don't know. I guess because the brook was raging that day, very high that there was enough power in that water to push him out. And a human body is slightly different, even though they're the same size and same weight, slightly different in its composition to that of a mannequin. But the theory of abduction has not been taken as seriously as it should have done. Jason and Ashley hired a PI, and on the W5 documentary, the PI said when he went out canvassing the homes down Queen Street, the main road, they'd not even been canvassed according to those people. So did somebody see something that hasn't come forward? Have local suspects even been investigated? You know, RSOs, etc. We don't know. Did the police, you know, basically shut down the investigation, you know, in relation to gathering evidence of an abduction far too soon? Let's go back to that 18 seconds. Now, Jason and Ashley no longer speak to Dorothy. And again, Dorothy is Ashley's mother. They no longer speak to her. They think she's hiding something. Not that she did something malicious, not that she's hiding Dylan's body or hiding his death, but she's hiding something, possibly that this 18 seconds of just turning around, putting the dog on a leash, is nonsense. And how could a child disappear in just 18 seconds? I've got to agree, how can a child just disappear in 18 seconds? Well, perhaps the thing that Dorothy is hiding is she actually took longer than 18 seconds. Jason suspects that maybe she took the dog inside, came back out and he was gone, possibly. Now, she lives upstairs. Her in-laws live on the downstairs floor, and Dorothy and her husband live upstairs. So if she did take the dog in, it would have meant she'd had to go upstairs, put the dog in and come back down, which is what, a minute, 2 minutes? And it gives Dylan that little bit longer head start, possibly. And perhaps she's been lying because she doesn't want to sound like she was neglectful, that she didn't actually put him on his harness when he, you know, he should have been on. Yeah, I guess there is that. But if Dylan's grandma, Dorothy, once she realised he was missing, if she's gone out the front and gone to ask neighbours if they'd seen him, and none of them had, then she's gone in the wrong direction. Because if Dylan had gone out through the bushes, she's gone in completely the wrong direction. And Dylan's gone by the time the police get there and they go and check the brook. It's horrible. It's such a sad, sad situation. And as I said, Jason's out there every weekend with a small team of searchers, just looking for clues, looking for any answers they can. And he believes that the police have just washed the hands of this case now. I can see how Dylan could have drowned under those circumstances, the unusual circumstances of that brook being so high, and just a freak accident that he has gone to the water, he's fallen in, and because of the unusual conditions, they can't replicate that with a mannequin. And he's gone out the river, out to sea. But there's always that chance. There's always that chance of abduction. As I say in other cases, a child can be snatched up with absolutely no evidence left behind. Nobody sees anything, nobody suspects anything, because that child is literally in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jason has said that child trafficking is an issue in that area, but it's not one, as far as we know, that the police have taken seriously. So that's Dylan's story. 2 years missing, with virtually no clues at all, other than Dylan's boots. Dylan's boots that could have come off as he was swept away down the brook into the river. Or did someone throw them in there? Did someone throw them in there because they fell off and they just wanted them gone? Or to make it look like Dylan had drowned? There's that possibility as well. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. See you in the next video. Goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.